that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose, and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire.
Oh, did you catch the lyrics that you were not supposed to catch? I mean, listen, we don't tinker around the edges a whole lot here on this show. We give you the straight goods. And so we begin our program this morning with The Doors, because it was on this day in 1967. Something else happened in 1967. Not on this day but the year 1967. What? Well, let's not talk about what it was. That other thing that happened in 1967 that fans of the Toronto Maple Leafs are always reminded of. No. In this case, we're talking about that song right there, Light My Fire, which was released on this day in 1967 by Jim Morrison and The Doors. It would go on to become a number one on the singles charts, but just 2 months later. But here's where it comes to the lyrics in question that you were not supposed to hear. You see, when The Doors were booked to appear on the Ed Sullivan Show, they were asked to change the line that you just heard in that bit of the song, "Girl, we couldn't get much higher," because the sponsors of the Ed Sullivan Show, again, we're going back to 1967, were uncomfortable with the possible reference to drug taking. How do you think those sponsors would feel today when people walk down the street smoking joints? Just a thing that happens in 2026, all of these years later. But nonetheless, the band agreed to make the change to the lyric. They did a rehearsal using the amended lyrics, but during the live performance, lead singer Jim Morrison sang the original lyric, after which they were informed they would never appear on the Ed Sullivan Show again. Oh, you rebel Jim Morrison. Light My Fire, released this day in 1967, starts our show on this Wednesday morning, the 3rd of June. Welcome to the program. And can I just say, good job by you. I mean, really good job by you. What a turnout in downtown Kitchener last night. I was impressed enough. And then I got home and I got a call from my buddy Moosey, Mike the Moose Reeves, our bus driver for the Kitchener Rangers. And as I answered the phone, he said, "What the heck was that?" And by that, he meant he had never seen a crowd like that to celebrate our Kitchener Rangers. We packed downtown Kitchener. We packed Carl's Air Square, and we celebrated that championship team, that Memorial Cup winning team in Kitchener Rangers fans style. Way to go. Way to show up for the team that gave us so much to cheer about this past season. I loved every minute of it. And the minute of it, in fact, it's not even a minute. It's about half a minute. The half a minute of it that I loved the absolute most. This might now be my favorite quote ever from any prime minister, from any president, from any of the great orators in the world, past, present, or future. You're going to have a hard time topping this, because when Kitchener Rangers general manager Mike McKenzie took the stage to talk about the team that he built, he remembered back in November of 2025 when the Kitchener Rangers learned they would not be hosting the 2027 Memorial Cup. Remember? It was between Kitchener and Guelph. And the selection committee chose Guelph in part because the arena smells like good popcorn. What? Anyway, General Manager Mike McKenzie remembered getting that news.
On November 19th, I got a call from Joe Birch, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
He told me we weren't getting the 2027 Memorial Cup, and it had been awarded to the Guelph Storm. We took some time to think about it. We said, screw it, we're going to go to Kelowna and get it this year.
We said, screw it, we're going to go to Kelowna and get it this year. And guess what the Rangers did? They said, screw it, we went and got it in Kelowna. That, as the kids would say, is nails.
We said, screw it, we're going to go to Kelowna and get it this year.
That you did, General Manager Mike McKenzie. That you did. Absolutely loved every bit of it in downtown Kitchener last night. You know, the minute we begin our show every day, our phone lines are open to you. You are always invited to participate in the conversation. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Let's get to the phones. Gary is with us early this Wednesday morning. Farwell's Force, member number 41. Hello, Gary.
Good morning, buddy. Welcome back.
Great to be back.
I know. I missed your voice. Larry did a great job, but it's not the same. But it's good to have you back.
Listen, Gary, if you want, don't ever say that again, okay? Tell me what a terrible job Larry did, because otherwise, my fragile ego. Come on. No, he was great. He was great.
Yeah, he for sure. He had some big shoes to fill, but he did a great job. But congratulations, Mike. I was following while you guys were out there and your posts and stuff, and yeah, when I heard the news that you guys won, that's truly amazing to the whole organization, all the way down, from you to right to the top. It's everyone involved. It was an amazing thing to hear. And then this morning, going through Facebook and seeing the crowds and everyone that came out last night, you guys must have been standing on the stage just looking, going, wow, really feeling the love.
Yeah, it was a massive crowd. It was fantastic. I'm sure the weather helped, but this town loves its Kitchener Rangers, and they showed it, and I'm so happy that those players got to experience that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, hats off to you, Mike, and the whole team, and welcome back, and I hope everything's well and healthy, and look forward to catching your shows in the morning.
All right, Gary, thanks for being with us this morning. We are here every day, 9 until 1. Listen, I am going to take some vacation time at some point, probably beginning of July. But for now, so we got lots to do. In fact, before 9:30, we got to talk about Farwell for Hire, which is underway for another year. I couldn't do it in May because we were kind of busy following those Kitchener Rangers, a very good reason to be busy. But not only is the Farwell for Hire campaign underway, our 50-50 raffle is underway, and there is something connected to that 50-50 raffle that I need to let you know about. And it involves one of our regular listeners who did a very bad thing while I was away, a very bad thing. And he knows he did a very bad thing. So we'll get to that before 9:30. But good to hear from you this morning, Gary. Doug is with us as well. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Mike. Yesterday I paused to hear you say maybe comment on what I said. Next thing I knew, you were gone. Anyway, the point I was going to make after that yesterday, because you did mention the play-by-play. When the Rangers played for the Memorial Cup, they hosted it in 2003.
No, they hosted in 2008.
Sorry. Well, the last time that you played for it, they sent Gord Miller from TSN and that team to do the play-by-play. And it was, even now, and Gord was new then, but I'll tell you, even then, it was way better than what they sent this year. And that explains why so many people, as your long-distance listeners, were applying, saying they were turning down the TV and turning
I think, listen, Dustin Nielsen does good work. He's a good guy. We shouldn't be hard on him like that. I enjoyed his call, to be honest with you. I just think sometimes fans like to have the homer version of the call, and that's what we do on the radio, and that's allowed, I think. So But no, they did good work. And Frankie Corrado was part of that TSN broadcast. He played for us here in Kitchener. He's a beauty. So let's not be too hard on those guys.
Oh yeah, I understand, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's it. You and Josh, and when it comes to the Rangers, it comes to the hockey. You guys just did an awesome job, and I found myself doing the same thing, and it was just a far more enjoyable experience because you guys are more built on the Rangers. But I saw the pictures from last night because I couldn't be there. That was I was thinking of the song this morning. Should have been the Irish Rovers. Wasn't at a party. Have a great day, sir.
All right, Doug. Thank you very much. It was a great party. Kevin is with us as well this morning. Good morning, Kevin.
Hi, good morning, Mike. Nice to talk to you. I didn't get a chance to call because the lines were so busy for the last couple of days. Well, congratulations to the whole organization, to you and all the players.
Listen, I got to say this again, Kevin. I had precisely nothing to do with any of this.
Well,
okay?
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
That's a reason I'm calling, Mike.
Good.
First of all, I think you should have been there to hoist the cup. Let me tell you why. Because there are three ways that people can enjoy the Rangers: being at the odd, watching on TV, or listening to radio. I have to listen to the radio because on Friday night, mostly I'm driving, and your role is very important. You're the person who brings the game without us watching it. You bring that game to our mind and to our soul. And the way you do that is nothing different than being in the odd. So it's you are a very important part of the organization because you're the one. For us that you cannot watch the game, we can feel the game, we can feel the passion and everything that's happening by just visualizing it the way you are broadcasting it. So I just want to call today and I just want to thank you, and because you are a big part of that because you are transferring that passion from the rink to our mind. So it's a very important job that you're doing, and we are so proud of you, and we are so proud of the team. And one last question. Where can I get those championship hats they had it on the wings? Okay, are they for sale?
I think they will be at some point, but the Canadian Hockey League had a very limited number of those to hand out to the winning team on Sunday. But I'm sure you will be able to find the championship swag at Rangers Authentics as soon as they can get it into the store.
Oh, perfect. Because for me, I'm not a fan of any NHL. I'm only a fan of Rangers.
Attaboy.
I don't care about any other team.
Attaboy.
So all the best. Good to have you back. And hopefully we're going to repeat it next year.
All right, Kevin, thank you. I'd love to do it again. It was so much damn fun. Can we do it every year? And I appreciate the kind words. I really do. But what I mean by saying how little a role I had in this is the organization does all the work to build the team. The players are out there doing their thing. It's only, the only job I have is to tell you what's happening on the ice. They're doing all the work. So anyway, it was a great party last night. Absolutely loved it. Mike, Farwell's Force, member number 335. Good morning.
Good morning, Mikey. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Mikey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Listen, he's right. I listened to you on the radio the whole time.
Oh, Mikey, listen, you got to stop. Come on.
No, listen.
My head, I'm not going to be able to get outside the studio door. My head's going to be so big.
I know, Mikey, but listen, you were great, Mikey. It was good. What a dominant performance by the Rangers. They were awesome, and it's so good to see. And like you said, let's do it next year. We missed you while you were gone, but it's glad that you're back. And while you were gone, Mikey, it was getting ridiculous, but the garbage is finally out. Way to go, Mikey. I'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right, Mike. Thank you. That is connected to what I got to tell you before 9:30 about one of our regular listeners on this show who, he broke the rules and he knew it. We'll get to that before 9:30. But now it's time for some business on the show. It would be your Farwell Show 5 for this Wednesday morning, the 3rd of June. Number 1, the region of Waterloo will move forward with a pilot project that bans right-hand turns on some red lights. About a dozen or so intersections through Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo will have the right-hand turn on red ban implemented. The region will study how this works, if it holds up traffic and or transit too much, if it makes the intersection safer. This is the dopey, like of all the dopey ideas we've had before, this has got to be the dopiest. I just want to ask you a question. Okay? I want you to picture being at a red light. Okay? And if you are at a red light and you want to turn right, there should not be a pedestrian and or cyclist, scooter, stroller, anything in that crosswalk. Because if there is, that person on the bicycle, scooter, foot, whatever, is going against the signal. If you are at a red light and you want to turn right, there should be nobody in the crosswalk. Nobody. So how is banning the right-hand turn going to keep the stop it? What do we... Oh, it hurts my head. And I looked this up just so I had it right in front of me today, okay? Because here's the rationale for banning right-hand turns on red lights. Because over a 5-year period, there were 3 collisions with pedestrians at one of the intersections they're banning the right turns. There were 4 at Fairway and Wilson. Okay, that's 4 collisions over 5 years. I know we want 0, but are you telling me this is a high enough priority that we have to invest time, staff time, in generating a report, doing a pilot project? Again, what I want to know is if there were collisions with right turns, okay, were the lights red at the time of the collision? Because if the light's green and I'm turning right, those pedestrians, those bicyclists, those scooter people have every right to be in that crosswalk, and as a driver, you did something wrong. If you are facing a red light and you want to turn right, nobody should be in that crosswalk, not if they're following the law. So why are we banning the turns for the vehicles? What are we doing? Maybe we should put up big gates so people don't cross when they're not supposed to cross. What about... Oh, it's dopey. It's a dopey idea. Waste of time, waste of money. Waste. So dopey. Sorry. Number 2 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, a major 10-year vision for one of the most popular parks in the region has just reached a new step. A Kitchener committee unanimously passed a master plan for the future of Victoria Park. The main areas to be addressed, as in within the next 3 years, include improvements to the playground and basketball court, replacing the old picnic shelter, upgrading trails, and improving the park's electrical infrastructure for food trucks and major events. Also connected, not to the park so much, but planning for the future, the City of Kitchener's strategic plan and how you can participate in it. We'll have Mayor Barry Verbanovic on the show this morning at 11. Number 3, if you put off a fill-up yesterday, you might be kicking yourself this morning. Price of gas has jumped 8 cents in the region overnight to nearly $1.78 per liter, and experts say tensions in the Middle East could push the price even higher this summer. We're talking about electric vehicles just after the 9:30 news this morning. Maybe those electric vehicle sales are up because we're sick of the price of gas. Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the Trump administration is proposing that tariffs of 10% be imposed on products from dozens of major trading partners, including Canada. The report from U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer comes following a probe into imports of goods allegedly made with forced labor. He says the new tariffs are for allegedly failing to enforce a forced labor import ban. And number 5, on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Ontario's members of provincial parliament will get an extra long break from the legislature this summer as it takes a 21-week recess. You heard me correctly. You thought teachers had it good. How about a 21-week summer recess for Ontario MPPs? And this comes after the legislature sat for just 30 days. And that 30-day sitting followed a 14-week winter break. So you've got 35 weeks of recess around 1 month of sitting. Could we just try to make it look like we give a crap? Could we try that? Sorry, that was kind of vulgar, but seriously, in an economy where people are struggling, many of us working multiple jobs, working the fingers right down to the bone, you're taking 35 weeks of recess with a 1 month sitting in between. Are you kidding me right now? No, you never kid about things like that, right? I get it. Just make it look like you're trying, for crying out loud.
Bueller.
And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Wednesday morning, the 3rd of June. Why, oh why, has someone run afoul of the Farwell Show rules, and what are we going to do about it? We'll get into that coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If you were paying very close attention, and I have no doubt you were, you would have heard the little promo in that commercial break about the Farwell for Hire 50/50 raffle. My new obsession, and it will remain a month-long obsession, will be watching the jackpot grow, because I love doing that, because it means more money for cystic fibrosis research. And that jackpot right now, almost $35,000, which means your take-home prize is almost $17,500. You can get tickets at cf5050.ca. And if you get your tickets now, like right now, or at least before this Friday, you'll be eligible for our first early bird prize of $2,500 in cash from TLC Pet Food in New Hamburg. Great supporters of ours on Farwell for Hire over these last many years. Grateful to have them back. And here's the thing, like, I would love your help to get this jackpot going. Again, almost $35,000. We need to get the jackpot to $70,000 before I can eat another butter tart. That's right. I am banned from eating butter tarts until the jackpot reaches $70,000 or the take-home prize reaches $35,000. And that's got me thinking about our friend Kyle. I'm sure you know by now what Kyle did while I was away. The reports I have received are that you, on more than one occasion, invoked the team that shall not be named on this program while I was away. Is that what happened?
Snitches get stitches.
Oh, snitches get stitches. But are you confirming then that the reports that I have received are true?
I was just correcting you guys on a couple of occasions.
Okay, a couple of occasions. So the reports are true that you used on this show the name of the team that shall not be named.
Maybe I did. Yes.
Okay. Do you know what?
I gotta talk to my lawyer.
Okay.
I gotta talk to my lawyer before I even go any further.
That's fair. You have the right to legal counsel. Yeah, Kyle has the right to legal counsel, but he's been banned, put in the penalty box before for saying things he shouldn't say. And obviously it didn't work. So we're going to put him back in the penalty box. And here's the deal. If I can't have a butter tart until the jackpot reaches $70,000, Kyle doesn't get back out of the penalty box until the jackpot reaches $70,000. Help us get there. cf5050.ca. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, how about those gas prices, eh? We were reporting this morning about a sharp increase overnight around the region, up about 8 cents more per liter this morning than the prices were last night. My buddy Mike from Guelph sends an email to Mike at 570news.com, says the station that he bought at last night was 26 cents per liter higher this morning. So good thing you bought last night, Mike. But the bottom line is there has been a consistent pain at the pumps over these last many weeks as we continue to deal with global conflict and the impact that's having on getting oil to market. Could that be one of the reasons that we are seeing an increase in electric vehicle sales in Canada? Let's talk a little bit more about it with Joanna Kuriazis, Director of Policy and Strategy with Clean Energy Canada. Joanna, good morning.
Good morning.
What are we seeing when it comes to the EV market in Canada?
Well, last year, Canada was one of the only markets in the world to see EV sales decline. They're up everywhere else. But with war-driven gas price spikes, as you mentioned, and the return of the federal rebate, 2026 is already proving to be a comeback year for EV sales. They're rebounding, and they're up about 150% this spring.
What would be behind the rebound?
I think it's a number of factors. Last year, Canadians weren't uniquely anti-EV. We had some uncertainty caused by an abrupt pause of government rebates. We looked at what was going on in the U.S., where President Trump was making a real U-turn on EVs. And I think Canadians were wondering, okay, are these things just a fad? And then we also had an EV affordability problem last year, where a lot of the lower cost models that were available elsewhere in the world weren't coming into our market. But now with Prime Minister Carney announcing a new auto strategy that recommitted Canada to an EV future, with gas prices nearing $2 per litre in many parts of Canada. And then with the return of the federal rebates, we're seeing Canadians rushing out to get their hands on a new EV.
Would the market be as strong as it is, Joanna, without those rebate opportunities that the government makes available?
So, yes. Yes and no. First of all, I'd say it wasn't the presence or absence of the rebate last year that made the biggest difference. It was the uncertainty. So in January, the rebate federally came to an abrupt pause, and we had many ministers publicly saying that those rebates were coming back. So Canadians who wanted an EV were sort of sitting on the sidelines waiting to know if they could get that $5,000 off. And they're holding off on purchasing a vehicle they may otherwise would have. But the rebate does help address one of the biggest barriers to EV adoption, which is that it has a slightly higher upfront cost than comparable gas cars, even though we know it can save tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of the vehicle. But I'd say that's also changing, because this year we're also seeing a lot of EV prices come down, where the average transaction price for a new EV is now tracking the general car market.
So what would that average cost look like? Because when we talk about EVs on the show, that's one of the issues that is often raised, that it is a higher price point for entry into the market. What does the price point looks like? What does the price point look like right now?
Yeah, so the data this year shows that the average transaction price for a new EV is about $49,000. And that's the same as for an average new car of any powertrain. And when I say transaction price, that's including rebates, that's including discounts offered by the dealer. So it's the price you pay when you walk off the lot. And then, of course, used EVs are a whole other story, where those are particularly attractive to a lot of Canadian buyers right now. You can get a used EV for, between $15,000 and $20,000, because that used market's really becoming a lot more robust as EVs are coming off of leases.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that as well. So the used EV market may be the place to find real value in the sector.
Honestly, a used EV is the best deal on the Canadian car market today. Again, there's a wealth of options that are, 3 to 5 years old, under 100,000 kilometers, and then you can get price points. Again, I've seen as low as 10,000, but for sure you can find a lot of options under that $25,000 price point. And because EVs save so much money on fuel and maintenance compared to gas cars, like about $2,000 to $3,000 per year, then that means you are driving that car off the dealership lot and saving immediately.
Is the life expectancy of batteries in EVs, Joanna, still something that makes the used market a market that buyers would be interested in? Are they worried about that long-term life of the battery?
Yes. So I think there are some fears that Canadians have around buying a used EV, and I want to help allay those fears. So first, EVs that are sold on the market today typically come with a range of 400 to 500 kilometers. Battery degradation is not at all as common as people think. Studies show you might lose 1% of range per year. And the technology is getting better and better every year. The other thing is that warranties are for batteries typically cover 8 years of driving or 160,000 kilometers. So even if you're buying a used EV, you can have that warranty transferred over. And then the last thing is that I think folks are worried about having to replace their battery, which can be expensive. But battery replacements are incredibly rare. If you're looking at EVs that were made after like 2021, 2022, there's about a 1% or less than 1% battery replacement rate. Batteries are designed to outlast the vehicle.
What do we know about end of life for electric vehicles? Not just the body, but particularly those batteries.
Yeah, so that's a really new space, in part because EVs haven't been on the road for that long. So there aren't that many that have come to the end of their life with batteries, looking for a new home. But I think what's different about this phase of the auto sector is that we're really getting out ahead of that end of life situation. Batteries contain really valuable critical minerals and battery materials that the whole world is rushing to try to secure. So the idea that it would end up sitting in a landfill is not it's not going to happen. There are a ton of companies that are focused on battery recycling where they can extract some 95% of the valuable material in it and then reintroduce it into the supply chain. And it's also a way for car makers and battery makers to cut costs by not having to wait for new lithium or nickel to be mined from the ground.
Joanna, I did a terrible job with your last name when we started this, and it's totally my fault. Kyriazis.
You got it.
Yeah, I should have had it right the first time. My apologies for that. Thank you for making time for the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Joanna Kyriazis is a Director of Policy and Strategy with Clean Energy Canada. And after a down year in 2025, electric vehicle sales in Canada would be perhaps robust, is how we could describe them in the first quarter of this year as we're coming into the end of the second quarter of 2026. But I wonder, especially with what we are seeing by way of prices at the pumps, how you are feeling about the automotive market today. Has this given you pause to dip your toe perhaps into the electric vehicle market? We've talked about this on the show before, and I continue to hear the same things, which I understand. Do I have range anxiety when it comes to electric vehicles? Absolutely, yes, I do. Because for my money, there aren't enough of those charging stations to get me from point A to point B if those points are separated by more than 400 kilometers or so. So that concerns me a little bit. In reality, though, I rarely drive that far on any given trip. The vast majority of what I do when it comes to driving is come to and from work. That's pretty much it. So that's another reason that I haven't been incredibly bothered. Like, it annoys me, gas prices, like I'm sure it annoys you. But I have to fill up so infrequently, about once every 3 weeks maybe, that it doesn't rattle me a ton. Although when you start to break it down and you're putting something into the vehicle that you just consume, right? It's a cost that you continue to bear when you drive a fuel-based automobile as opposed to an electric, right? And then, of course, all of the other things that we hear about when it comes to the lower maintenance, et cetera. But range anxiety, I've got it. And the price point at $49,000, as Joanna Kyriazis just explained to us, is still, I'll tell you what, that's more than double what I paid for my most recent vehicle on the used market, I will grant you. But still, that's a price point that's a little rich for this average Joe's blood over here. And I still struggle a little bit, given that EVs are at a slightly higher price point than I'm comfortable with, but that we subsidize them. So let me get this straight now. I, as your average Joe Canadian / Ontarian, I'm driving around my fuel-based automobile. I'm filling up with the increasing price of gas. I'm feeling all these other price pressures. And now part of the taxes that I pay, you're using to subsidize electric vehicles for people that can afford them? Like, I have a bit of a problem with that. If the market doesn't work without the government subsidy, then perhaps the market doesn't work. But I would like to see how it operates without the subsidy. And again, what they are seeing through Clean Energy Canada is that, yes, it's beneficial, but it's not the sole reason we're seeing the increase. The rebates, that is, not the sole reason we're seeing the increase in EV sales. So where are you at? This is a market that continues to evolve. When it comes to electric vehicles, are you ready to make the change? Have you already done so, given the fact that many experts tell us we're going to be seeing $2 per liter at the pumps later this summer? Your thoughts always welcome on the Mike Farwell Show. Our phone lines are open to you on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I've seen as low as 10,000, but for sure you can find a lot of options under that $25,000 price point. And because EVs save so much money on fuel and maintenance compared to gas cars, like about $2,000 to $3,000 per year, then that means you are driving that car off the dealership lot and saving immediately.
Joanna Kyriazis is the Director of Policy and Strategy with Clean Energy Canada. Joins us to talk about the bounce back in electric vehicle sales in Canada. After 2025 was a down year for EVs in Canada, 2026 is already shaping up as a banner year. EV sales in January of this year more than doubled, from just over 8,600 vehicles to more than 21,500 in March. So by the end of the first quarter, that 8,600 vehicles sold in January was up to 21,500. And what was behind the downturn in EV sales last year? Well, the federal government brought a very quick and abrupt end to its electric vehicle rebate program. And then those sales stayed low throughout the year, even as other parts of the world adopted more electric vehicle technology. But the rebate comes back, and then so too do consumers in Canada. And if you are not yet an electric vehicle devotee, I wonder why that is, or if you have made the switch, how's it working out for you? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. One of the problems I have with the rebate, and I guess when I think about this more, maybe I'm more of a free market guy than I originally thought that I was, but one of the reasons that I struggle with the rebates is because the price point for electric vehicles is one that I'm not yet comfortable with. It's too high for me. And that's just, I'm not the most lavish spender, as you know. Quite frankly, I'm cheap. But just because electric vehicles are at a higher price point, and then these rebates increase the sales of them, all we're doing, as far as I can tell, is subsidizing the cost of a vehicle for somebody that can afford something more expensive than many of us can already afford. So why are my taxes being used to help somebody wealthier buy something? I struggle with that a little bit. And these subsidies are in the many thousands of dollars that are being offered. I don't love the way that rebate system works. And bluntly, and maybe it's just me being that creature of habit that I am, I get it. I've been driving an automobile since I was 16 years old, so that's a whole lot of decades now. And I'm very accustomed to getting in the car, turning the key, and when it runs low on gas, going to the station and putting gasoline into the tank, which takes minutes, and those gas stations are abundant, right? I'm still not seeing the number of electric vehicle charging stations that would support the increasing number of electric vehicles on the road, to say nothing of the impact on the electricity grid overall. But I'll tell you what, with the price of gas these days, it does give me pause because, again, going back to being that guy who's a little bit on the cheap side, if I could save a few bucks through the adoption of electric vehicle technology, you're starting to get my attention. I just got to get past that price point, I think. Bob, Farwell's Forest number 680. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How you doing today?
Doing real well, thanks. How are you?
Good. I work in the auto industry, surprising, and I will never, ever be a fan of electric vehicles. Not only because of the ridiculous price, but all the other points that you listed as well. But here's a little secret that most people don't realize. A 5-year-old Tesla sells wholesale for between $20,000 and $30,000. So if you got that kind of money, you got $100,000 that you want to throw away. Hey, I'm not too old for adoption.
I hear where you're coming from. So you're saying you drop big bucks on it, and then 5 years later, it's worth $20,000 to $30,000.
Yeah, you spend $120 on it, and 5 years later, it's worth $20,000, maybe $30,000.
Yeah.
$100,000 over a 5-year lifespan is just ridiculous. And the reason for that is because we all know that the batteries have a lifespan, and they're dying, at that point. And it's going to cost you another small fortune to replace the batteries.
Yeah, I hear you, Bob, and I've heard that concern raised before. Look, it's a market, as I said, that continues to evolve. But there are some deals right now. They're saying some of the best automotive deals in Canada right now are on the used EV market. So there you go. We do know that when you stop at the gas station, you feel it these days. That is for sure. Okay, we have to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then Tom Korski, the managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter, joins us as we mind Ottawa's business for another week here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is time for us to mind Ottawa's business, and there is no better place to do that than in our nation's capital with the Blacklock's Reporter, which is the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital with neither politics nor punditry. You'll find them online at blacklocks.ca. I have little doubt you will enjoy what you find there. Well worth the cost of the subscription. And joining us weekly for these chats is Tom Korski, who's the managing editor at the Blacklock's Reporter. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Mike.
Are we in a recession? And what is the Prime Minister saying about it?
We are, and the Prime Minister today, we are led to believe, will speak for the first time in the House of Commons on his plan and his economic record. These are government figures. It seems odd that Cabinet and members of the government caucus are disputing this. That's never a good sign when the government is contradicting its own Stats Canada figures. But indeed, the economy is smaller than it was on the last Labor Day, according to StatsCan. And that is a recession. It's significant. It's the first recession since the pandemic. And outside of pandemic times, the last one was there was a minor recession before the 2015 election. And recessions are fatal, of course, for governments at any time. Governments don't like to talk about it, but you can't argue with the math, Mike. And inexplicably, for instance, only yesterday, the parliamentary secretary to the government House leader was saying, "Oh, no. It's too early. It's not too early," and tell that to people who are looking for work.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. I mean, we'll get some comment today, but it seems as though the federal Liberals were trying to get their ducks in a row before Prime Minister Carney had anything to say about it.
I don't know why this is difficult. This is really a core function. They like to take credit when they score on an empty net, but they don't like taking credit when when the hits go against them. It doesn't work that way. Well, wouldn't we all, really? Wouldn't we all? But it just Who's that lucky all the time?
All the time. Okay, I'm going to editorialize a little bit here, but proving, Tom, that even the NDP can have a good idea from time to time. I kind of like what MP Don Davies is saying here. He wants some rules around floor crossings.
He does. When he was interim leader of the party, they lost a member of their caucus, knocked their caucus down to 5 members on floor crossing. And to Don Davies' credit, he's been an MP for many terms. And going way back to 2006, he was always adamant about this subject. In fact, some may recall David Emerson, who was a member for Vancouver Kingsway, ran as a Liberal, defected to the Conservatives, and there was a certain constituent in his riding named Don Davies, who was a Teamsters lawyer, who got so upset at this betrayal of the electors in that riding that he ran against Emerson and has held the seat ever since, and that's Don Davies. So he's got street cred on this. He has a bill. He's introduced a bill before, introduced it this time again, saying if you want to be a smart aleck, if you want to be a floor crosser, then you go back home and you face your electors in a by-election. How popular is that idea? There was a Conservative-sponsored petition on this that drew over 110,000 signatures. That's a high volume by House of Commons standards. 5 MPs, of course, have famously defected to the Liberal caucus, giving the Prime Minister a majority. Davies called it odious, said it was infuriating, said all my years in Parliament I've never met one single Canadian who came up to me and said, I just love everything about floor crossing. I think they ought to do it more. I think he's got a point, Mike.
I think he does, Tom. It shouldn't be this hard, should it?
Well, it's people like to use polite language. Don Davies tried. He referred to it as political opportunism. I think there are other words for people who do things for personal advantage. But, we don't want to use rough language. The problem is that there are MPs who have really, in the case of famously Conservative MP from Sarnia-Lambton, Marilyn Gladu, she was really a libertarian. Her speeches against government caucus were famous. Right up until the moment she joined the government caucus, it was really something.
Okay, this is very timely because we just in the last half hour talked on this show about electric vehicles. What has our Department of Natural Resources learned about Canadians' feelings towards EVs?
I think that's significant, what you point out. This is in-house research by the federal department. This is not any internet conspiracy theory. All these years later, after years and years of $5,000 rebates, government promotions, mandatory sales quotas, they still find a majority of drivers believe EVs perform poorly in cold weather. A majority believe they can't travel far enough on a full charge. A majority, 57%, say there's too few charging stations where I drive. The typical Canadian driver owns one vehicle, clocks more than 100 kilometers a week. This is fascinating data. Says their next vehicle they want to spend no more than $50,000. That excludes all but Chinese slave-made EVs. Everyone knows that. That's the rebates. And there are a solid block of drivers who have said, I have no interest in this vehicle. They were asked, why don't I just quote it? How likely or unlikely are you to purchase a zero-emission vehicle as your next vehicle, asked the Department of Natural Resources. 22% said no way in hell, nowhere, no how. 20% more said highly unlikely. So there's 42% of customers just walked out the door. Only a third said, I might be interested, but it depends on the price.
It really seems to me as though we're trying to force a square peg through a round hole here.
Wasn't that always the flaw, though, in so many aspects of not only the EV program, but so many aspects of the Fed's climate change program going back 10 years? At the end of the day, there was always an element of compulsion. And many Canadians were led to believe, and I think this is conventional wisdom now, certainly wasn't in the day, that you could jolly people along for a long time with talking about fear, planet is burning, what about the children? And then you had to really bring in the hammer. And they did that with the carbon tax. They did it with some restrictions on consumer goods. And they certainly were aiming for it on the electrical vehicle mandate. It was supposed to start in this model year, 2026. 1/5 of all new sales were by government prescription to be an electric car, whether you wanted one or not. It was a little bit rough.
Okay, one of my favorite things about reading your work at the Blacklocks Reporter at blacklocks.ca is, I don't know, it might almost be innocuous. You certainly don't find it anywhere else, but how much did it cost us for a 4-day conference in Ottawa led by our Indigenous Languages Commissioner?
$10 million. You say, how is that even possible? How could you spend $2.5 million a day at a conference in Ottawa? He found a way. Not a household name, Indigenous Languages Commissioner, Ronald Ignace. He's a sociologist from BC, former Indigenous chief. He was the first person to get this job. And the job was to save Indigenous languages. It was not to have cocktail parties in Ottawa. He got confused. And whistleblowers complained. There's now an internal audit on this, and I'm sorry for the commissioner, federal managers have really hung him out to dry. They appeared in Commons Committee, Public Accounts Committee, said we knew nothing about this. We never approved it. We strongly disapprove. $10 million for 4-day partying is unacceptable, especially in this time of food bank usage. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. The commissioner is going to, I think, going to be saved public humiliation. Mike, his term expires July 12th. I can assure you he will not be reappointed, but there will be a damning audit that I'm guessing will come out sometime after the 12th of July.
$10 million in 4 days, $2.5 million a day. If anybody needs tips on how to spend that kind of money, maybe, I don't know, Monty Brewster, that was the character Richard Pryor played in the movie. Brewster's yes.
That was a great film, wasn't it?
Well,
but it's only funny when it's fictional.
Exactly. And that's the key. Right there, Thomas. That's the key. Always appreciate the chats. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mike.
Tom Korski is the managing editor at Blacklocks Reporter, the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital. Check it out for yourself. Blacklocks.ca. Listen, you spend for the subscription, but then you learn about $10 million 4-day conferences in our nation's capital. That's the kind of stuff we get from Tom each and every week. Wednesday mornings, just after the 10 a.m. news here on the Mike Farwell Show. I just want to go back to, first of all, 2 points. I love what Tom said. You know, it's always funny when it's fiction. Yes, exactly. In this case, it's federal government dollars, $10 million over 4 days. But also talking, and I know I joked a little bit that even the NDP can have good ideas sometimes, but you got to hand it to MP Don Davies. And Tom did a great job explaining how he's got the street cred on this, having run against and defeating a former floor crosser. But I have a difficult time not getting behind a bill proposal like this that Don Davies brought forward in our House of Commons the other day.
It's elementary that in a democracy, elections are the primary opportunity for voters to express their democratic choice. So, when parliamentarians cross the floor to join a different party than they were elected with, they unilaterally alter the will of their electors. And the corrosive effects in our democracy are profound. Voters lose trust in elections, the prospect that MPs have been enticed by backroom deals emerges, and the idea that only government members get resources for their constituencies brings pork barrel politics to the table. Recently, the very balance of power in this House was changed not by voters at the ballot box, but by political operatives in back rooms. While that may not be illegal, it is undeniably undemocratic. This bill will not ban floor crossing nor the ability to sit as an independent. The latter is a valid protection against party oppression and to preserve matters of conscience. It would simply require those who wish to join another party's caucus to seek the approval of their constituents through a by-election. If an MP who wishes to join another party believes they have valid reasons for doing so, they should have no problem putting that choice to the test of their voters where it should be. I urge all members to support this important measure to protect the democratic rights of Canadian voters.
Hear, hear. Excellent bill.
It has been tried before. It has been tried before. Let's let this be the time that it passes through federally and becomes law. You want to cross the floor, just go to a by-election. It's not hard. It's really not hard. Kudos to New Democrat MP Don Davies for trying again to get this through the floor of our federal Parliament. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it is that time of the morning, that time of the show where we like to remind you that not everyone is a jackwagon. Not everyone crosses the floor in politics. And how about this story? Imagine being at a hockey game and a puck goes out of play and it is screaming directly at you. And after it makes contact, all you want to talk about is the people that helped you. Oh, yeah, and by the way, you might have saved the life of a baby in the process. You're going to get that story coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As if we needed more reasons to celebrate the Kitchener Rangers. My goodness, they won the Memorial Cup. There was a huge parade and party for them in downtown Kitchener last night. But this story that you're about to hear sings more praises of your local hockey club. And hey, it's somebody else singing the praises. They were not prompted to do this. It just gives you a little more behind the scenes, all the way from Kelowna with a connection right here in Kitchener. It is 10:21.
Not everyone's a jackwagon. Not every heart is cold. Not every promise made to you is gonna turn to gold and fold. Some people mean it when they say they care. Some folks will show up, actually be there. So don't close the door on every soul you meet. Not everyone's a jackwagon on this street.
And the non-jackwagon in question today is a gentleman by the name of Dave Bellew. Maybe you know the Bellew name from around these here parts. I caught up with this Bellew, Dave, at Prospera Place in Kelowna, because you may have heard during the Memorial Cup tournament, it was the Rangers' third round-robin game. And defenseman for your Kitchener Rangers, Andrew McNeil, was clearing a puck down the ice that got deflected off another stick and went screaming, and I do mean screaming, into the stands. And it flew directly at Dave Bellew, who just so happened at the time to be holding his infant child in his arms. Tragedy, though, was averted, unless you count the injury to Dave Bellew as a tragedy, which in some respects it is, but the baby survived unscathed. And I caught up with Dave before the next game.
This puck came in so fast. Did you have a second to even think about what was about to happen?
I had just that, a split second to think about it. Made that choice to get the child out of the way and took one to the head. The quickest reaction, the best reaction, and best possible outcome in a situation that could have been tragic, right? So I'm thankful for the first aid medics and everyone that treated me at KGH. Great crowd, great community, so proud to be part of this tournament. It was the fans immediately stepping in that were in the arena, just waiting for the first responders to get there. They responded accordingly, appropriately. Saw the gash. We knew we needed stitches right away. So then it was the good team at KGH and Dr. Petrie there that stitched me up and took good care of me. So very happy there at KGH. Me and my family have spent a couple moments there this year that we wouldn't like to, but they've been great to us, and we're very thankful for the hospital and the community around us.
How are you feeling today?
Oh, energetic, alive. It's nice to, a tale of two towns. I love Kelowna. I've moved here about 16 years ago, but I'm a KW resident, so it's nice to support the two towns, and got a little practice with pre-practice inspection with Kitchener today, and that was a great experience to get behind the scenes with the boys. Andrew McNeil, the whole organization's been top-notch and classy. Accidents happen, but they treated it in the right way. So.
Okay, you mentioned the behind-the-scenes opportunity you got with the Kitchener Rangers. I know after the game on Tuesday night, Andrew McNeil was really upset, wondered how you were, etc. How did the Rangers treat you earlier today?
Yeah, just on that note, what a classy move from an 18-year-old just to reach out to me after that move, after the game. I know it must have been hard on him. No one likes to see that happen to anyone, but it was great, and they've just been accommodating and very supportive, and all that you'd expect out of a Kitchener team that's been classy for many years. So proud of how they've been handling themselves.
You come away with the souvenir, I say kind of in air quotes, because of the stitches and the black eye. What other souvenirs do you come away from this with?
A lifelong memories. This is about 3 generations of the Bellews coming together. So my granddad out from Kitchener-Waterloo, me and my wife Nikki and our son Colin experiencing this. It's what it's all about.
You mentioned that KW connection. What is that connection back to the region of Waterloo and the Kitchener Rangers?
I grew up in the Kitchener-Waterloo region, and I moved out there out west after high school. Happily raised in the Kitchener-Waterloo region, loved it, but the west is the best, so I settled in Kelowna.
Thanks for doing this. I'm glad you're okay. Really appreciate you making time.
Thank you. Priority number 1 is safety, so thanks again to the medic teams and all the hospital support.
That is Dave Bellew after taking a puck square in the head, but he got the baby out of the way first. This happened during the Memorial Cup round robin in Kelowna. The puck that went out of play came off the stick of Rangers defenseman Andrew McNeil, who did the work, as you heard Dave say, classy of an 18-year-old to think like that and to act like that, making sure that not only was Dave okay, but the family got some Kitchener Rangers swag, and wouldn't, what a connection back to this community where Dave Bellew grew up. His grandfather is still here. And just imagine. So if you know any of the Bellew family here in the region, Dave, even after all of this, is just thinking about all the medical staff that helped out in his time of need. Just your daily reminder that not everyone is a jackwagon here on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is a signature event on our Waterloo region calendar, and it is now into its 22nd year. From very humble beginnings, we are now into a 3rd decade of the annual barbecue in beautiful Petersburg in support of childhood cancer research. The driving force behind it is our good friend Warren Bechtold, who joins the show this morning. Mr. Bechtold, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Can you take me back 22 years ago, sir, and how this all started for you?
Well, it started through the Optimist Service Organization. I was asked to be on the Speakers Bureau for Optimist International, and I traveled across North America speaking to different clubs in different areas of North America, asking them to take up the fight of childhood cancer. And in 2002, I bought the current property, built a building, and then I decided that if I'm asking other people to do something to help families and research for childhood cancer, I better lead by example. And we started with a single barbecue and a pop-up umbrella and a couple coolers, and that was the start. We never really kept track of a lot of money back then, but as of last year now, we're commercial barbecues and 40 to 50 people to do the event every year, and we feed between now 400 and 500 people. And it's just because of the support of the community and the need, it just keeps growing every year. And we're really proud of the event, but proud of the support of the community.
How have you been able to sustain this over 22 years now, Warren?
I guess as I get older, you're supposed to get smarter, and you ask younger people to help. But it's just, excuse me, more people volunteering to help. Luckily, the Optimist Club of Petersburg that I belong to has the vast majority of the equipment. The New Hamburg Optimist Club donates the tents that people can sit under. And it's just, I'm deeply indebted to the family that does a lot of the promotion work and that for me, because without the immediate family, it again would not come off the way it does.
So the date is set a little more than a month from now, Thursday, July the 9th this summer. What else do we need to know about that day and how we can support this annual barbecue?
Okay. Well, just so that everybody is aware, all the funds, every dime that comes in, whether it's food sales or donation, is split between London Children's Hospital for childhood cancer, Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation for childhood cancer, or Waterloo Region Health Network Foundation for childhood cancer. So every dime that comes in goes to one of those. You can go to our website, which is www.bechtoldhome.com/childhood-cancer-barbecue. And it has our whole story on there. Our address is 1239 Notre Dame Drive in Petersburg. Our phone number is 519-634-5852 if they want more information, or we're also looking for corporate partners this year that will maybe support us, and then we will give back in advertising and promotion. And I've been lucky, or we've been lucky. We have support right across Canada from companies that we deal with. We even have a few companies in the U.S. that we deal with that donate to local cancer centers in their area. So in one way, it's a national or international sort of barbecue because we have support from all over, and it doesn't matter where money is given to cancer research. Children all over will benefit.
And on Thursday, July the 9th, we just have to show up between 11 and 6, and you're going to make sure we get fed.
That's right. We serve a 6-ounce hamburger, pre-cooked sausage, and jumbo juicy hot dogs, and we have a staff ready to serve as many people as will show up. As I say, we serve between 500 and 600. We've even had a couple small bands, orchestras that are willing to play music during the day that we're working on, and it's just a fun event. We've got sunshine and warm temperatures pre-ordered for that day again. And, you know, it's just a fun event. More fun the day after when it's over.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy lifting that goes into this. I know from having seen what happens. I mean, we drive into Petersburg and you can't miss the annual barbecue. You just can't. It's great visibility right there on Notre Dame Drive, as you've said. And you've had the opportunity to, Warren, over the years. For example, you mentioned one of the beneficiaries here is the Waterloo Regional Health Network childhood cancer area, and Scotland's Yard, right, and the family behind that, which are trying to get more care for children dealing with cancer in this community. You get them out to hear their stories. Last year, I think it was just last year, maybe 2 years ago, a young lady who had just rung the bell at the end of her treatments. These must fill your heart, these stories. It
is, and so often, and Mike, you would have the feeling too with the work you do. You hear some of the stories of the successes, but it's when we're able to help people that we don't even know to make their life better, because in some cases, and touch wood, our family's been very fortunate. We don't have to deal with childhood cancer. It's what we have to do as a community, help those that have a little bit of a rocky road to go over while their children are dealing with one disease or another, and it's what we have to do.
You raised more than $38,000 last year alone, Warren. Have you set a fundraising target for this year?
I guess Even like yourself, Mike, you always hope to do more. So 40,000 would be nice. We've never hit 40,000 before. But if we were really fortunate to hit 43,000 this year, that would put us over a lifetime total of $400,000. And it's just amazing that, even during the pandemic, we were doing over $20,000 a year. But the community is just so gracious and responding to the needs, no different than, again, I go back to your cause, Mike, how they respond to the needy causes in our community. It's just fantastic, even in tough financial times.
Absolutely. It really is heartwarming. I loved being there with you all last year. It's just a great energy that's around it. I'm looking forward to it again this year. And Warren will push for that 43,000. Would love to see it reach $400,000 lifetime funds raised for cancer research, childhood cancer research. Thanks for what you do, Warren, and thanks for being on the show this morning.
Okay, and thanks, Mike. And just as a side note, I've got my 50-50 tickets already for yours.
Attaboy.
And our companies have upped our donation to your cause, and I'm sure we'll be talking before our barbecue, and look forward to seeing you, and hopefully you can help and get on the front page of the local paper again.
I don't need any more attention, but I will absolutely be there to help. I appreciate it, Warren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Warren Bechtold. What else do you call a guy like that but a beauty, eh? Mr. Petersburg right there. And this annual barbecue now into its 22nd year. Something that Warren just said struck a chord with me, because we have our Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle going right now. And Warren said he already bought his tickets, which is great. And you can too, cf5050.ca. And Warren said also his company, Bechtold Home Improvements, is increasing their donation to our fund, which supports research into cystic fibrosis to help families in our community dealing with that. So Warren does his thing for childhood cancer. We do our thing for cystic fibrosis. But look at that business that is stepping forward with a sizable donation. And it's in Wilmot Township in Petersburg. Our early bird sponsor here for our Farwell for Hire 50-50, first early bird prize, $2,500 this Friday, coming directly from TLC Pet Food in New Hamburg. Wilmot Township, like Eric Cuttis, he and his wife Sandra are the founders of TLC Pet Food, and they've been longtime supporters of our fundraiser. And that's why they're on board as our primary sponsor for the Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle, and they're giving away $2,500. If you buy your 50-50 tickets before Friday, you are eligible for that $2,500 prize, and you're still in for the big overall prize. So get your tickets now at cf5050.ca. We're going to have Eric on the show later this week, and he had said, do we need to do a challenge? Like, do we need to put out a business challenge? I think what we need to do, so you got TLC Pet Food making direct contributions to our fund. You got Bechtold Home Improvements making direct contributions to our fund in the amount of thousands of dollars at a time. Maybe we need to challenge the other townships, businesses in the other townships, or maybe just around the region. I mean, can we match the generosity of Wilmot Township when it comes to their support of Farwell for Hire and the Farwell for Hire Fund that puts money into research for cystic fibrosis? They each do $2,500. It's pretty impressive stuff. Well, they might have to find a way to put that challenge out to other businesses in the 3 other townships or even the 3 municipalities. Who can match the generosity of Wilmot Township? Boy, it's a great place. It's a great place. All right, a quick timeout. When we come back, painting with Parkinson's. It's an initiative that I think you'll be interested in learning more about. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is an initiative called Painting with Parkinson's, and it's an initiative I think you'll enjoy learning more about as Joe O'Toole joins us on the show to talk about that very thing, painting with Parkinson's. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing well as well.
Glad to hear that.
And I thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh, it's a pleasure because, Walter Fernandez, what a great story.
Yes.
Tell us about him.
Yes. Yeah, so he was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2016. He was a bit depressed and was overall just sad about the news and a struggle of living with Parkinson's. And he picked up a paintbrush and started painting. And he found that very therapeutic, very healing. It gave him purpose. So over time, as he painted more and more, he got better and better and started to connect with his local community. And through that connection, it gave him more and more purpose, kept him moving. He kept progressing, and his paintings are just so wonderful. So that's the story of Walter in a nutshell.
I would encourage folks to visit the website paintingwithparkinson.com. You can see some of these beautiful paintings, and I would agree they are indeed beautiful. And you mentioned, Joe, that this is therapeutic for Walter for sure, but what does this mean for the Parkinson's community, if you will, overall, and others who are, caregivers, others dealing with Parkinson's, et cetera? What does Walter's initiative do for them?
Yeah, so in Walter's words, he says, I did something that worked for me and works for me. Want to try? You're welcome, and we'll help. So what it means for the community is to bring just that example that movement and painting and purpose can help, and we can build community together.
How can other folks help with this initiative or get involved in some way?
Yeah, so visiting the website is great, and even just following, because this is grassroots. Like Walter has been doing this for years, and so we're just starting with some social media. So even just following and sharing helps. You can volunteer. You can donate, but the main thing is just understanding and care and building a community around that.
What is it about Walter and this initiative that inspires you?
Walter is an amazing man, incredible. And what inspires me is his love for painting, how it's helped him. And how he goes out of his way to go out into the community and share what has helped heal him. And what inspires me about him is just that he doesn't give up. There's no quit in him. And I like his mission, love his values, and I will support it any way I can. And yeah, it's just wonderful. It's just, you walk outside and you see beautiful flowers, Walter paints them. And I'm always looking for beauty in life, and Walter provides that.
You mentioned that just starting to spread the word via social media, et cetera. Are there social media handles that we can be looking for?
Yeah, Painting with Parkinson. So it's painting.with.Parkinson.
Okay. And what platforms are you using?
So right now it's mainly Instagram.
Okay.
And like I said, Facebook as well. But we're just starting up, and we could use some help with that as well.
Joe, it's a great story, and I really appreciate you drawing our attention to it so that we could talk more. And please give our best to Walter as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll talk to him right after this.
Good. Thanks very much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Joe O'Toole is a supporter of Painting with Parkinson's. If you visit the website, Painting with Parkinson, there's no S there, paintingwithparkinson.com, you'll see some of Walter's beautiful work. It's really art therapy for Walter. And not only does he inspire others in the Parkinson's community, but their family, their friends, their caregivers. And I think us in general can be inspired. We in general can be inspired by this, because we are seeing somebody who was facing the prospect of debilitation from a disease and decided to pick up a paintbrush and share with us the beauty that he has seen in the world. Paintingwithparkinson.com, or if you're on Instagram, check out painting.with.parkinson and see some of Walter's work and learn more about the initiative. Going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then how you can help shape the next 4 years in the city of Kitchener. That's coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If you missed our Farwell Show 5 at the beginning of the show today, that's okay. I mean, you don't have to be here for every minute of the show, but every day, in and around, probably before 9:15, if I'm doing my job right, I get started with the Farwell Show 5. 5 things that I think might help you get through your day, little tidbits of information. One of the things I shared with you on today's Farwell Show 5 is the 10-year vision that has been adopted by the city of Kitchener for Victoria Park, our signature park in the city of Kitchener. The master plan will look at areas to address, including improvements to the playground and basketball courts, replacing the old picnic shelter, some upgrades to the trails through the park, and improving the electrical infrastructure at Victoria Park so food trucks and other major events have an easier time being staged in Victoria Park. So that's a 10-year vision for Kitchener's signature park. Something else that's underway, I think we could call it related, is the city's overall strategic plan. And there's an opportunity for you to participate in this strategic plan. Again, it's a 10-year master plan for Victoria Park. That's one thing. This municipal strategic plan looks at the next 4 years for the city of Kitchener. And Mayor Barry Verbanovic joins us to talk a little bit more about it. When it comes to a strategic plan for a city like this, Mayor Verbanovic, what are we aiming to do here? What are the goals of a strategic plan?
Yeah, so, really, Mike, the plan is the next 4-year roadmap to guide the next council in terms of the community's priorities and our goals and major decisions that need to be made. And the approach that we're undertaking right now is really to ensure that as we do that, we don't just hear from the traditional voices, but in fact that the plan reflects the broad, diverse, and thoughtfulness of all community voices throughout the community. And so one of the first things that we do is actually do a survey that helps tell us how the community is feeling about things. And we know from that last survey that folks are saying that there's relatively easy access to activities, 83%, for example, and 80% to programs. But only about half of them, 53%, feel confident in terms of the planning process for the future. And that's why, engagement is so key. We know affordability continues to be one of the top issues that people are looking at. But in terms of overall satisfaction with city services, they remain strong at around 70%. So, a lot of good things, but also areas that we know that we need to work at. And, we've had a history of deep engagement with residents, and we just want to do more of that going forward.
I guess on that point of folks through this survey identifying that, it's fairly easy to access city services, they're satisfied with those services they are receiving. In many ways, Mayor Verbanovic, a municipality is in the customer service business, with that customer being the citizen.
100%, and you want to make sure that whether it's actual services we're providing or some of the broad range plans and work that the city does, we want to make sure that residents are feeling that the approach the city's taking, that it works, that overall we have processes in place that lead to better decisions. And ultimately, and this is, I think, something that both you and I feel very strongly about, that we need to continue to build trust between residents and their local government, the order of government that impacts their day-to-day lives the most, from, as I like to say, from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed at night, and they're even there overnight in case something goes wrong and you need their help.
Absolutely bears repeating, and I couldn't agree more on that score. When it comes to affordability, and I'm not surprised it's identified as an issue in the survey results, but I wonder how much a municipality can play a role in that regard. Not to be dismissive, but we know that municipalities can apply property taxes, and Kitchener region-wide has done very well at keeping those property taxes for the better part of a decade now at or very near to, I think, right at or below inflation, in fact. But beyond that, what mechanisms does a municipality have to help residents who are struggling with affordability issues?
Listen, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do, and it starts, as you say, with the property taxes. And our councils worked really hard over successive terms, and I have to give a shout out here to the person that's been at the helm of our finance committee throughout most of my time as mayor, and that's been Councillor Scott Davey. But all of council have played an important role in doing that. But it's also looking at, how can we put programs in place that make sure that recreation, for example, is available to people, even those who perhaps are financially struggling for a period of time in their life. And so we do have programs like that in place so that, kids can still be engaged in after-school activities and so on, because we know in the long run, those investments make such a profound difference in their lives. And council's always been very supportive of that kind of thing, but also making sure that we invest in a broad range of programs that reflect the community that we are today. I mean, you and I mean, you were born in Kitchener. I came in grade 6, but we grew up in this community, and we know the community looks very different today than it was when we were growing up. That, in my view, is a good thing, and has helped add to what really makes the Canadian experience so awesome. But it also means we need to look at providing services in different ways, and our strategic planning process does that. And part of hopefully what we can touch on today is how people can get involved.
When it comes to, just from the outside looking in, Mayor Verbanovic, the things that a municipality is dealing with by way of big issues these days, one has got to be how we manage the growth that we have been experiencing and will continue to experience. I'm not sure if a strategic plan is the place for that where it gets discussed, but how much of this plan is involved with managing the growth in the city?
So, listen, I mean, obviously the priorities that will be identified in the plan are going to come out of the work that's being done. We've already seen a fair bit of interest in this, starting in 2025 in terms of some of the work that we did around Kitchener 2051 and the Victoria Park Master Plan, which were important. And Kitchener 2051 obviously is one of the tools the city of Kitchener has in terms of their official plan. And what I can tell you, Mike, is we had almost 39,000 unique visitors to Engage Kitchener in those two projects, over 60,000 visits to the Engage Kitchener webpage. There were almost 4,000 project followers on those two projects. And of course, we use Engage Kitchener, as do the other municipalities in the region with their own Engage pages, to get input from residents. And in 2025, we actually got input on over 120 projects in the community.
You alluded to it a moment ago, and it's one of the reasons that I love a show like this, because we can let people know how they are given opportunities to have their say in shaping the future of their community. So how can we get folks involved in, do our best to get as broad a spectrum as possible of people providing input here, community engagement with this strategic plan?
Yeah, so, obviously participating through the Engage Kitchener page is one way, but there's two deeper ways to get involved, and that's really what we'd like to encourage people to do here today. One is our resident panel, where 40 residents will be selected by Civic Lottery to reflect the community's diversity. And this is for people who really want to, dig in deep and be part of deep deliberations where they'll learn about issues, discuss trade-offs, and help shape priorities for the future council and the future term of council. And this is really about bringing everyday residents together to think deeply about the community's future. And then the second way is through community conversations. And this is for where organizations can get involved in the process. You can invite groups to submit, groups can submit an expression of interest to host small group conversations in trusted spaces led by community leaders they already know. We know that, not everyone either has the interest or the time to participate in something like a resident panel. So we want to support conversations at places like faith-based locations, organizational hubs, community centers, and other trusted spaces across the city. And again, organizations would express an interest in hosting, and then there would be a bit of a lottery process, both in terms, if we have too much demand in terms of the organizations that are selected, as well as the participants that would participate in those, to make sure that we're always reflecting the community's demographics. And that's really about fairness and making sure that, the overall number of people at the table actually reflect our city, and that we're not just hearing from certain voices. So what I would tell you is, no experience is needed. In fact, first-time participants are encouraged. It's open to anyone who lives, works, studies, or owns property in Kitchener, is open-minded and willing to learn and listen, and can collaborate with others. And, we're not looking for experts in policy, planning, or government. We just need people who are passionate and care about your community. And we know we have a few of those even on your show on a regular basis. And so we want to say that applications are open now. You can apply at kitchener.ca/resident panel or kitchener.ca/community conversations. And the deadline to apply is 11:59 p.m. on June 15th. So you almost have 2 weeks still to do that. And there we go.
Okay, so kitchener.ca/resident panel, kitchener.ca/community conversations.
Yep, exactly. And we believe that, through this process, because we've seen it work with other projects like Kitchener 2051 and the Victoria Park Master Plan, the community works best when residents help shape it. And this is an opportunity for people to do that. No experience required, just your voice and a passion for the community.
I will agree with you again, Mayor Verbanovic, that we do have a number of folks who are passionate about their community listening to and participating in this show. Sometimes, though, I think they just need to air some grievances on the show, but maybe we can get them involved in these community conversations or resident panels as well.
There we go. We can't just leave Festivus until December 23rd in the airing of grievances.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Looking forward to watching how this plan comes together, engaging the community in it, and shaping these next 4 years for the city. As always, we appreciate your time on the show. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks a million, Mike, for making it possible, particularly with us being at committee today at the region. Doing a pre-record was very much appreciated.
And by the way, just real quick, before I let you go, what a night we had at Carl's Air Square last night celebrating the Kitchener Rangers. My goodness.
Oh, my goodness. And thank you again. I mean, listen, the Rangers have been such a big part of your life all these years. We were just thrilled that you were ready, able, and willing to MC that event. And I mean, it was just electric. I don't think I've ever seen the square so filled, so dense. with people in general. But I mean, what a great day of Ranger Nation.
Yeah, I got a call from somebody else who had been a participant not long after it ended, was blown away at the size of the crowd. I'm so happy that the team got to experience that kind of response from the city, because after the season they gave us, boy, oh boy, it was great.
No, it was, and they deserved it. And, I keep telling everybody that, the Rangers give so much back to the community, from their involvement with minor hockey, from their partnership with organizations like Oktoberfest, during their 50th and all the time, and quite frankly, all of the time, but also through things like Rangers Reach and so on, that does so much good in the community. And they give so much, and the community gave it back this season. And boy, did it count in spades in those final weeks of the playoffs, and then ultimately the Memorial Cup. 1,500. I know you had the best viewing spot in Kelowna, but I got to tell you, the odd was amazing with over 1,500 people there for the watch party on Sunday night.
Yeah, it was great indeed. Okay, I'll let you get back to work. Mayor Verbanovic, thanks again for being on the show this morning.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike.
Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic joining us to talk about the City of Kitchener's new strategic plan. It's a 4-year outlook, and the key takeaway from this, I hope that you're able to glean, is your opportunity to meaningfully participate in this. So visit kitchener.ca/resident panel or kitchener.ca/community conversations, and maybe you can be a part of that group that helps to shape the next 4 years, the next strategic plan for the City of Kitchener. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We have got an update in the 570 News Center coming your way at 11:30, but we're a few minutes from that still. Always time to hear from you on the phones. Margaret is with us. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning, Mike. Have you come down from last night yet?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I've come down from Sunday night's high.
I know.
Yet.
I shouldn't have just said last night. I mean, from everything.
Well, but you make a good point about last night, Councillor Margaret Johnston. I recognize this voice, and I saw you wearing your Rangers gear at that celebration in downtown Kitchener last night. I just want to say again, I'm so happy that these young men got to experience that from the fans. I'm sure they felt the love. That was an incredible turnout and a great celebration.
It really was, Mike. And if I may, I got to say, when I was standing up on stage and watching those amazing young men come up and have a turn at the mic and holding the cup, as a mom, I'm not a mother of any of those young men, but I had tears in my eyes. It brought tears to my eyes just to see the joy of what their experience and the joy of what our community got to experience with that. I had goosebumps, honestly, and tears in my eyes. I will tell you, it was incredible. And I am happy to talk about our engagement opportunities. But I did want to call and just say, Mike, you are often one of those unsung heroes in this community who brings joy to us from your radio show, but also from all that you do for the Rangers, and your excitement gets everybody else excited. And, you're like that, but another really unsung hero in our community is my council colleague, Dave Schneider, who is one of the nicest people I have ever met in my life. And what he brings to the Rangers community with his public announcements, he just loves those Rangers so much. So I just wanted to give a shout out today to Dave, who honestly, he is one of those unsung heroes, but he's an absolutely incredible person and an amazing representative for the Rangers to our community. Every time he speaks at council, I love to hear his voice because I think he's going to call it a goal.
He is a gem, and he's an encyclopedia of Rangers history as well. A fan as well as our public address announcer. It's great. Mark, thanks for taking the time to call in.
Calling in to say this, but thank you so much to both of you.
It is our pleasure to be associated, even in a small way, with the team. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, enjoy your day. You too. Ward 8 councillor Margaret Johnston from Kitchener. And just that feeling of, as a mom, not of these boys, but of just observing this and feeling like getting those goosebumps on their behalf. I think there was a picture that got around from last night where I had my arms in the air as if I was holding the trophy too, because it was contagious. You love to see these guys get celebrated that way. I mean, I did anyway. It was lots of fun. It was kind of contagious. Speaking of that, I'll just throw this in real quick before our news update. We are the champions. So our All Request Friday theme, songs about champions winning, you figure out a way. I mean, obviously we'll hear some Queen. What else you got for me? Because we are champions in this town, and that's what All Request Friday is about. Send me your requests for the music to Mike at 570news.com. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As we work to track down John Malloy, the director at the Center for Public Ethics at Martin Luther University College in Waterloo, we're going to talk about provincial politics and the hope that John hopes we start seeing being offered from political parties. And this is an idea I can get behind. You and I have talked about it before, so we will get to that. But while we're on the issue of provincial politics, can I just remind you again that MPPs in this province have broken from the legislature for the summer recess, which will last 21 weeks. 21. And you thought teachers had it pretty good with their 8 to 9 week summer break, right? This is a 21 week summer recess, and I get it, especially in the summertime. Just because you're not at Queen's Park doesn't mean that you're not working in your constituency. And in the summertime, there are lots of barbecues, lots of things to attend, events, etc. But the business of moving this province forward is important business, right? And there is no shortage of issues to be dealt with. And if you're not at Queen's Park dealing with the issues, passing legislation, etc., then you're not at Queen's Park dealing with the issues and passing legislation, are you? Incredibly frustrating. A 21-week recess, which follows only a 30-day session, which was preceded by another 14-week winter break. MPPs only came back to Queen's Park in March for 30 days of actual sitting time, and then are now taking another 21-week recess. So that's 35 weeks of recess, separated by about 4 weeks at Queen's Park. Like, that is good work if you can get it. And as I said earlier today, when it came up during the Farwell Show 5, at least try to make it look like you're doing something here. Like, just optics alone, make it look like you're making an effort of some kind. I'll come back to more of that in a minute, because I think Ontario NDP leader Mard Stiles was in pretty good form when it came to her concerns with the 21-week recess that is just getting underway. But something else that came up at Regional Council this week, and it's been on my mind because we flew into and out of YKF, our Region of Waterloo International Airport in Breslau, on our way to and from Kelowna. And so it was a reminder for me of what is happening at that airport. And I know it's been a bone of contention for some at times. I mean, it costs an awful lot of money to subsidize a regional airport that not everyone gets the opportunity to avail themselves of. But Ian McLean, the president and CEO of the Greater KW Chamber of Commerce, was a delegate at Regional Council just yesterday and reminded councillors how important this airport is to our local business community.
There is tremendous support amongst the business community, and not just my chamber, but the Cambridge Chamber, Waterloo Economic Development Corporation, Communitech, Explore Waterloo, for the importance of having a highly functioning and effective airport specifically and especially as we continue to grow. We know that over the longer term, Pearson Airport will increasingly be difficult for domestic flights and for secondary markets, and we're well situated for the investments that the Region of Waterloo has made for Waterloo Region International Airport to be not only beneficial for us, but for the broader Southern Ontario and GTA area. The airport is core infrastructure now and is directly related to success in both investment and job creation. And a world-class community like Waterloo Region needs and deserves world-class infrastructure. So whether that's transit system and LRT Phase 2, whether it's the intermodal of all-day two-way GO service between here and Toronto and beyond, roads and the improvements in Highway 7. The airport is part of that core infrastructure now for economic vitality and growth. And so I encourage you to continue down the path of wise investment for the future and thinking ahead to how the airport can serve bringing those jobs of the future, the high-paying, high-quality jobs that will sustain our community.
Ian McLean, President, CEO of the Greater KW Chamber of Commerce, appearing before Regional Council yesterday and having just been at the Region of Waterloo International Airport over the past week. Lots going on out there, so lots, yes, being invested in it. Okay, let's get back to those provincial politics and the hope that at least one person hopes we can see all parties put on offer. That person is John Malloy, who himself is a former Liberal MPP and cabinet minister, now the director of the Centre for Public Ethics at Martin Luther University College in Waterloo. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Mike.
Have you found any of Ontario Premier Doug Ford's policies a bit unsettling of late?
I have, and not simply because I may disagree. I mean, sometimes I don't, but I may disagree with the substance. But I think the overall narrative that's being given by Ford, it's not exactly reassuring that there's a vision for the province and that there's hope for the province, because these are really unsettling times, and I think people are looking for hope.
So do you mean when we have, we talk about things like the basket weaving courses that are on offer at schools, or that we are talking about, adding more prisons or beds to prisons, et cetera, to, incarcerate all of those or imprison all of those criminals. That's making it seem as though, geez, our post-secondary institutions are offering ridiculous courses. We have so many criminals, we need more space for them. That's the kind of narrative that you're referring to?
Yeah, and I guess I'm asking the bigger question, because, listen, you need both. It's a bit of a cliche, tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. But I think people actually appreciate both. So we're building more prisons. Okay, fair enough. But what are we doing to keep people out of the prisons? What are we doing to address crime? We're going after, and, I'd be one of those who would say Mr. Ford's gone a little too far. But, we're going after judges and everyone who won't allow us to clear encampments. I mean, I think people, the members of the general public have a genuine displeasure with having encampments everywhere and on public land, and they may say, okay, it's good that we have a government at Queen's Park that's getting a bit tough with the encampments, but what's the big story there? We're going to put them into an overcrowded shelter system. We're going to continue with social assistance, which is has reached unbelievably low levels relative to inflation and the cost of living. What are we doing to address homelessness in the big picture? What are we doing about addictions and mental health issues, which are on the rise? Where is that big picture? And he seems to just be about clamping down. Students aren't coming to school. We're going to make them come to school. Well, that's good, but why aren't they coming to school? Where's the hope for a parent that's concerned about their high school kids? Where's the hope for people who are concerned about the level of poverty? It just seems to be this kind of let's put a Band-Aid on it.
So you have described hope as sort of the bread and butter of politics. So what would a more hopeful approach then look like?
Well, as I say, it's a bit cliche and it's a bit hackneyed, but I think it's the idea of tough on the symptoms, but also thinking about the causes. So I don't know if it would cost Doug Ford very much to say, you know what, we've got a problem in this province when it comes to people who are at the lowest rung. People who are struggling, they may be facing mental health or addiction issues or personal issues. People, in a province which, he could say this, admittedly, it's harder and harder to find affordable housing. We have this problem, and I get it as Premier. On the one hand, the encampments are a symptom of it, and they're not acceptable. So we're gonna be giving some tools, but at the same time, we're going to be doing some things to help with some of the factors of homelessness. And maybe some of these things he is doing, but at least tell a story about it, tell a narrative about it, reassure people that you kind of get the fact that there's a bigger problem going on here. There's a bigger problem going on in our schools with the fact that students aren't showing up in high school. There are issues in both the link between post-secondary, the link between post-secondary and the work world. I mean, telling kids to go study STEM, well, fine, we can have that discussion, but what about the tens of thousands of students who STEM isn't their thing, science and technology and engineering? What about if I have a son or daughter who's studying English or history? Well, I guess there's no hope for them, right, according to the Premier. It's just his whole style seems to be very much dealing with the symptoms, and I think especially in this atmosphere, people want someone who's going to instill a bit of hope. I mean, it's an old saying, no one's ever voted for a pessimist. So,
well, but couldn't we have made this argument long before Doug Ford, John? It sounds to me like what we're talking about here is the real meat and potatoes of governing. And I can't remember the last government at any level, quite frankly, that actually does the real work. Because as we always talk about, like, nobody wants to see the infrastructure. They just want to see the ribbon being cut in front of the facility, if that makes sense.
But do they? Well, of course we want to see it, but I got to tell you, I cut a lot of ribbons and I announced a lot of projects. Sometimes I'd announce them 3, 4, 5, or 6 times. I mean, people wanted to see the end point. They wanted to see what was happening. I mean, I think one of the reasons, and I'm not being partisan here because I'll throw a huge caveat in, but one of the reasons that Mark Carney is so popular right now is that he is giving Canadians a sense of hope that we're getting moving on some big projects, that we're going to be an energy superpower. We're going to rebuild our military. We're going to rebuild infrastructure. We're going to do all this. And but the big caveat is, I think where Mark Carney is very, very vulnerable, and I'm not the first to say this, he's got to actually deliver. But right now, I think Mark Carney is talking the language of hope much more than Doug Ford. And surprise, surprise, Mark Carney, I think there was a headline this morning I saw that he's one of the most popular governments in Canadian history. Could he fall flat in his face? Yeah, when a few years from now everyone says, well, where's the pipeline? Where's the new infrastructure? Where's the new, brand new military? And the answer is, well, we have a committee to work on it, and there's a special office that's dealing with it.
I get the sense that, this comes down to what we hear from, and you and I have talked about before, question period, where it almost becomes who's got the most pithy one-liner, because it's the short soundbite in today's attention span that's going to make the news or circulate on social media, etc. You're always looking for the one-liner. So, when you're Doug Ford and you come into office and you talk about ending the gravy train and making things more efficient, like this is the sort of soundbite politicking that we have almost begun to demand. Or is this a chicken and egg thing? Did we demand it, or is it just what's given to us?
But I'm going to be even more cynical than you and say, well, at least he talked a good game. Remember his slogan in 2018, help is on the way. I kind of would like to hear him say that. We've got, think of AI. We got a whole generation. I mean, you're talking to the father of a teenager and a person in their, a young student in their early 20s. They are terrified about AI and what it's going to mean for their future and for jobs. We've got increasing poverty, increasing homelessness. We've got an education system which seems to be in a bit of a crisis. Why is Doug Ford not saying, well, at least help is on the way, folks? And that, and I guess in a sense he is, because he's saying, we'll move all those people out of the encampment. I'm not going to tell you where they're going to go, but we all know where they're going to go, into overcrowded shelters or other parts of the city where they can't be seen. We'll force all your kids to come to school. Well, our kids are pretty upset right now, Mr. Premier. And that's great. Like, I'm not saying that attendance shouldn't be part of it, but aren't there bigger issues that he should be zeroing in on that are tied to it? It just all seems to be Band-Aids right now. And, we had this discussion a few weeks ago. Is he lost a bit of his mojo, that he's not sort of saying help is on the way and we're going to get you through a pretty raucous time right now. And, you bring in AI, you bring in tariffs, you bring in rising income inequality, the houses, the shortage of housing. I mean, I'm starting to get depressed, Mike. I don't know. I want my premier to say, "Don't worry, we know it's scary out there, and we got some things we're going to put in the window that's going to deal with some of the underlying problems." And instead, he just seems to be kind of this: we're going to crack down on it.
I like the latter part about putting some things in the window that are going to be part of the solution, because that's. I want to see the heavy lifting get done here by multiple levels of government, to be honest. But always a thought-provoking conversation. John, thanks again for making time for the show.
No, thank you, Mike.
John Malloy is the director at the Center for Public Ethics at Martin Luther University College in Waterloo. Where's the hope, Premier Ford? I can get behind this idea. Let me tell you, when I was away in Kelowna and I read that ruling on the encampment at Weber and Victoria, I had steam coming out of my ears, because this to me is an all of government failure. Federal, provincial, municipal, and they all just keep pointing their fingers at each other. All of government failure. How about this? No more ribbons get cut until we actually fix this. Surely to goodness we can fix it, can't we? This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Just before we were chatting with John Malloy, the director of the Center for Public Ethics at Martin Luther University College in Waterloo, who is putting forward an idea I can always get behind. Instead of just treating the symptoms, can we also, we can walk and chew gum, right? Can we also get into the causes of the problem? Well, that's great. Kids aren't showing up at school, so we should make attendance part of the grade, which is all well and good. But are we going to look at the underlying causes of why kids are not going to school as often as they once did? When we talk about clearing encampments, what are we going to do to ensure that they don't come back again at some point, et cetera, et cetera? And just before we talked to John about that, I was talking about the 21-week summer recess that Ontario MPPs are taking. Like, they're not even trying to make it look like they give a tinker's darn, right? And you got to hand it to NDP leader Marit Stiles here in Ontario. I mean, her job is to oppose, and she came out swinging. Well, I put my own computer on mute that time. I don't know why I do this to myself. I says Marit Stiles came out swinging.
He can't get out of here fast enough. This premier used the 29 days he had to buy himself a private luxury jet on the taxpayer's dime. He used it to hide his cell phone records over and over again. We saw him bringing in things like OSAP cuts and refusing to crack down on rent hikes, refusing to crack down on grocery taxes as we proposed to the government. Every measure that we brought forward to make life more affordable, the government voted against it. 700,000 Ontarians are still struggling to find a job. Youth unemployment is the worst in the country. The only ideas this government seems to have are ones that benefit the Premier and his buddies. We're going to keep introducing measures that are going to make life more affordable for people in this province. I'm going to be traveling all across the province of Ontario, and you're darn right I will be on the doorsteps in Scarborough Southwest, making sure that the people of Scarborough Southwest can continue to count on a real fighter from the NDP to represent them.
So we could talk about 21-week summer recesses. We could talk about that big party for the Kitchener Rangers last night. We could talk about clearing encampments. We get that opportunity every day. Your Talkback Hour is next on the Mike Farwell Show. Open phone lines for you on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage outside, or you don't go out Friday night.
Don't talk back.
Okay, just a couple of quick pieces of business to take care of before we start taking your calls here on the Talkback Hour, which I love to do. So quickly to the business first piece. It's already Wednesday. I was a little bit messed up this week with Monday being a travel day for me getting back from Kelowna. So my apologies. All Request Friday is back because I'm back and we're going to play your requests, at least up to 60 seconds of the song that you request on All Request Friday. We always attach a theme to it, and it's pretty simple this week. We came back from Kelowna as champions of the Canadian Hockey League, Memorial Cup winners. So your theme for this Friday is winning champions. Whatever you do to fit that theme with your song request, please do. It's the championship theme this week, or the winning theme this week. Send your requests to me via email, mike@570news.com, or when you call into the show to participate in the conversation, or you just want to call in your request to Jen, she's happy to take it. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Again, your All Request Friday theme this week, champions, winning. Figure out a way to make it work with a song for All Request Friday. The other piece of business is this. It is Farwell for Hire month in June this year because I was a little busy in May. So we are underway and we are getting support from businesses across this community, which is exactly what we are hoping for with this campaign. Because if you are a business owner and we can participate in something at your business, hopefully you get a little exposure. And we are able to meet bigger and newer audiences every year to let them know about why we fundraise, and we can raise more money because you're helping us get in front of more people, you see. And one of our longstanding partners is Just Love Pie, the sweet and savory pie company in Waterloo. There's a location in Uptown, and there's a location on... Oh, why am I blanking? Northfield and Bridge. Ooh, Farwell. Geez, Louise. Yes, on Bridge at Northfield in the plaza there. Sweet and Savory Pie Company. And they make my absolute favorite local butter tart. Like, I love their butter tarts. And because they are partners in the Farwell for Hire campaign, when you buy your butter tarts this month, and I know you do because we all love butter tarts, right? Especially the ones without the raisins. When you buy butter tarts at Sweet and Savory Pie Company this month, $1 from every half dozen butter tarts you buy and $2 from every dozen is being donated to the Farwell for Hire Fund in support of cystic fibrosis research. See how awesome that is? So you go there, you get delicious butter tarts, and every time you buy them, we get a little bit of money for our fundraiser. It's a beautiful thing. But here's the problem. I have been banned from eating a butter tart until our Farwell for Hire 50-50 raffle reaches a jackpot of $70,000. The jackpot is currently about halfway there, $35,650. That's the overall jackpot. The take-home prize almost at $18,000 then. But we have to get that jackpot to $70,000 before I'm allowed to eat another butter tart from Sweet and Savory Pie Company or from anywhere else I found a butter tart, because I love butter tarts, but I cannot eat one until the jackpot gets to $70,000. So I need you to help, please. Get your 50-50 tickets at cf5050.ca. And connected to that, we had one of our regular listeners really misbehave last week while I was gone. He called this show and he used the name of the hockey team that shall not be named. And he's done this before. And I think I was too lenient with the punishment. I really do. Clearly, he didn't learn a lesson because he did it again while I was gone. So the punishment needs to be stiffer this time. I'm not going as far as Derek went. Derek sent me an email and said, Kyle should be put in the penalty box until the Leafs win the Stanley Cup. I won't go that far, but here's what happened when Kyle called the show yesterday. The reports I have received are that you, on more than one occasion, invoked the team that shall not be named on this program while I was away. Is that what happened?
Snitches get stitches.
Oh, snitches get stitches. But are you confirming then that the reports that I have received are true?
I was just correcting you guys on a couple of occasions.
Okay, a couple of occasions. So the reports are true that you used on this show the name of the team that shall not be named.
Maybe I did, yes.
Okay. Do you know what?
I gotta talk to my lawyer.
Okay.
I gotta talk to my lawyer before I even go any further.
That's fair. You have the right to legal counsel. I hope you enjoyed hearing Kyle's voice again, because Kyle, Farwell's Force member number 6, is in the penalty box. And I'm keeping him there as long as I have to be without a butter tart. So we can maybe make this work for Farwell for hire, right? But the guy deserves to be in the penalty box for longer than he was the last time. So how long does it take us to get the Farwell for hire 50-50 jackpot up to $70,000? Take home prize of $35,000. When that happens, I can eat a butter tart again, thank goodness. And Kyle comes out of the penalty box, but not before that. So if you want to help Kyle get out of the penalty box, or you want to help me get my sugar fix, we have to get that jackpot to $70,000. You can buy tickets right now at cf5050.ca. And if you buy your tickets before Friday, you are eligible for our first early bird prize, which is $2,500 in cash from TLC Pet Food. And you're still in for the big jackpot. So get a ticket right now, cf5050.ca. Be in for the early bird prize from TLC Pet Food. Help us get that jackpot up to $70,000. So Kyle can come out of the penalty box and I can eat a butter tart. Let's get to the phones now on Talkback. Steve is with us. Good afternoon, Steve.
Good afternoon, Mike. How are you?
Oh, it's my good friend, Mr. Fakuri. I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you, Mike. And I just like to say, first of all, it's great to have you back on the air again after your assignment with the Rangers. And I just would like to say, too, Mike, that last night I was at the pep rally at City Hall, and I was very, very impressed about how well it went over. It was a great performance by the Rangers coming out. I watched it from the balcony, and I was waving my flags very high. And so I know that the Rangers saw it, and certainly the fans saw it as well. But I just like to say, Mike, that you people on the radio did a very good job of covering the games. Joe Birch did a fantastic job of having last night's event set up. And finally, Mike, I just like to say congratulations to the team on a well-deserved victory and winning the Stanley Cup. It was, or not Stanley Cup, but I meant Memorial Cup. And it was kind of nice to see it come to fruition this year.
Steve, it's always great to hear from you. Am I going to see you at the KW Accessibility Golf Tournament again this year?
Yes, Mike, you will. I'll be there.
Very good. And that's coming up next week, isn't it?
June 22nd.
Oh, June 22nd. I got a few more weeks yet. Okay, good. Steve, I will see you there.
Okay, Mike, sounds fine.
Thank you, my friend. Great to hear from you. Steve is a longtime Kitchener Rangers supporter. And heck, the Memorial Cup is the Stanley Cup of the Canadian Hockey League, isn't it? And your Kitchener Rangers won it just a few days ago. I still feel like I just left Kelowna. I really do. Tom, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mike. How you doing? Have you settled in from Kelowna time yet?
No.
BC no?
I have no idea what time of day it is. I have no idea where I am right now.
Do beautiful. Kelowna is very nice. If you ever get a chance, get out to Fernie, BC. It's even nicer out there.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Well, if you're a skier, you'll love the powder snow. For sure out in Fernie. But there's no right turn on a red light now. They're trying to do this experiment. Are they also going to tell these people to take their faces out of the phones when they're crossing the road when doing this? It's almost like New York State. You can't make a right-hand turn down New York State on a red light. So I can understand the issue or what the concern about making right-hand turns, the safety factor in that. But it sounds like I don't know really the reason behind it.
Tom, it's a very good question, and we have a guest scheduled for tomorrow morning on the show to talk about it. And I will be polite but firm because, listen, I'm with Tom, and he says he gets it from the safety factor. I bluntly don't, and I'm sorry for that. Right from the report that the region prepared for this, the intersections where right-hand turns on red lights are going to be prohibited have, over a 5-year period, had at most 4 collisions with pedestrians. 4. And that was at Fairway Road and Wilson Avenue. That's one of the streets where you will no longer be allowed to turn right on red during this pilot project. 4 collisions over 5 years. Does this sound to you in any way like a priority? Surely there are more dangerous things happening on our roads, aren't there? Am I missing something? I know the goal is 0, but 4 incidents over 5 years. I can't wrap my head around it. And the other thing, I just want to remind you, and all you have to do, please, is picture yourself being at a red light. Okay, you are at a red light. If you turn right at that red light, nobody is legally allowed to be in that crosswalk. Nobody. Because they would be crossing in front of the cross traffic. You're at a red light. That means vehicles are passing in front of you at that intersection. So if you're turning right, nobody's supposed to be in that crosswalk. How is that going to... See, what's missing in this data, I believe, is, again, 4 collisions over 5 years with pedestrians when making a right-hand turn. But were you making a right-hand turn on a green light when the pedestrian had the right of way in the crosswalk? How many collisions happen when the red light is red? We're missing the boat entirely on this, as far as I'm concerned. And I can't help but think there are higher priorities for us to deal with. But what do I know? I just sit here. But if I had a vote on this, I would have brought up that very point. If I'm at a red light and I'm going to turn right, that crosswalk is mine as the driver. Nobody should be crossing there. Nobody. If they are, they're doing it illegally, maybe because they have their face in their phone, like Tom said. I don't know. But this is, you want to talk about cockamamie ideas? This is a cockamamie idea from where I'm sitting. It's the Mike Farwell Show. Talkback Hour continues on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Talkback is when we keep the lines wide open for your calls on the show. Thoughts on the issues of the day, or you want to tell us the issue that you'd like to make the issue of the day. It's up to you. Back to the phones for Francis. Good afternoon, Francis.
Good afternoon. It's nice to hear from you.
It's nice to hear from you as well.
Well, like this, your red light business. You know, I think of a saying I heard a few years ago. What about me? What about me? What about me? And I mean, like everybody. Pedestrians, people on bikes, car drivers, truck drivers. Like, if the people just listen to what they're supposed to do, you don't block an intersection. If you can't go beyond, you leave it open for people to take a turn. Like I said, I could go on, and like people, they walk out of a grocery store. They just keep on walking. They think, well, everybody should stop for me because I'm so important. Like, oh boy, do I ever get wrapped up when I hear about this craziness? It's really sad. Like, you know, people, since COVID, with the mask coming on, I think the biggest part of the people is just they keep their eyes straight forward, tunnel vision, and they don't see anything else happening. And with that, I must say God bless, and I sure enjoyed seeing everybody at the square last night. God bless and take care, Mike.
Thanks, Francis. Nice to hear from you. Francis getting a little worked up there. We might have to bring him onto the show as a host, because I can't be the only one that gets worked up when I see the absence of critical thinking, right? EJ, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Welcome back home.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back home.
I heard you speaking to Steve Thackeray.
Yes.
I have one. I've lost Steven's phone number. We've been friends since 1974 or 6. If you could say, I want him to give me a call, to give me his phone number. I used to drive him to all his appointments. He sat with me at the Ranger game for I don't know how many years. We used to billet some of the kids. And I just thought there was an interesting item. 1982, when we won, I was a secretary at a school. My husband was, at the time, was on the executive, and he brought the cup to the school. And the cup went into every classroom for a grade 7-8 school. And there were a few pictures taken. Granted, we didn't have the phones we have now. But our phys ed department got busy and grabbed their camera. So I was just wondering how many kids remember that.
Oh, from back in 82.
Yeah, because they were in grade 7-8. And my ex and the principal, Jerry Forler, took the cup to each classroom. And the kids went bananas.
I'll bet they did. Absolutely.
They loved it.
That's a great story.
Yeah, well, I thought just be an interesting fact that 430 kids.
Well, and you're right. They'd be between 55 and 60 at this point, I guess, because that was 44 years ago, and you said grade 7s and 8s. So
yeah.
There you go, mid to late 50s. And let's find out if somebody remembers having that Memorial Cup trophy at their school way back when.
Right, and I hope Steven's listening, so he'll give me a call.
All right, well, I'll see him on the 22nd for sure. So if he doesn't call by then, I'll nudge him when I see him.
Well, terrific. Don't nudge him too hard.
I promise I won't. I'll be gentle.
Okay.
Thanks, EJ.
You. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. How about that? 1982, did the Memorial Cup come to your classroom in Kitchener? That's fun. Walter, my favorite Guelph Storm fan. You're on Talkback.
How are you today, Mike?
Well, I'm great. I'm a Memorial Cup champion. How about you?
Yeah, well, hey, listen, I wanted... first off, I want to congratulate you on the Rangers win and their season. It was unbelievable, I have to admit it. And I'm really proud because they're only like 8 miles away. So
That's right.
I was happy to see that.
And I shouldn't say I'm the Memorial Cup champion. The team is, of course, but you're a Storm fan, so I had to rub it in.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Okay.
Because I've done that to you in the past as well. So I tit for tat.
Attaboy.
So now on this Kyle thing, now if I recall, I heard you out in Kelowna. Now, like, I don't know if there's a double standard or how you want to spin it, but I heard you mention that team's name more than once on the radio down there.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Not on this show. I wasn't even doing my show. How could I have done that?
Oh, I see. So it's just your show. You're allowed to say it whenever, though, right?
No. The only time
you did.
The only time I would ever have. The only time I would ever say it is if I'm talking about a player who might be a draft pick of that team, or maybe that team's playing in a game that night and we're giving an out of town score. But never.
I beg to differ, because I was listening to it and I heard you mention. Anyways, that's fine.
Okay, well, thank you, Walter. I got to run to get to the news center, but I promise you, there's a hard and fast rule on this show: thou shalt not say the name of the team that shall not be named. It's pretty easy. Kyle didn't follow through. He's in the penalty box until our Farwell for Hire 50-50 jackpot gets to $70,000. How fast it gets there? Maybe Kyle can call all his friends and tell them to buy tickets at cf5050.ca. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. All right, well, slowly but surely, Kyle's punishment in the penalty box is coming to an end. I mean, we started the hour with a jackpot of $35,650. Now it's $35,700. So, $350 more in the jackpot to get Kyle out of the penalty box or to allow me a butter tart. Neither Kyle can come back on this radio station nor I can eat a butter tart until our Farwell for Hire 50-50 jackpot reaches $70,000 or a $35,000 take-home prize. You can get your tickets right now, cf5050.ca. Let's get back to the phones on Talkback. Bob is next. Bob, is this your first time calling the show?
Yes, it is.
Yes! I love me some first-time callers, Bob. Welcome. What's on your mind?
I'm a senior, and I'm just alarmed at what the Premier's doing. When I have no food, he's worried about a long vacation.
21 weeks. 21 weeks.
How can I get some food?
That's a great question, Bob. Do you have any support through the food bank or anything like that?
No, I don't. They don't deliver. I don't have any transportation.
Right. What about Meals on Wheels?
They're too expensive.
Oh, okay. I got you. Well, we got to get some help for you, Bob. There's no question about that. And this is what John Malloy was talking about earlier, right? We can look at the widening income gap or income inequality and, look at people on the lower end of that income scale and say, well, you can't live in a tent on this street corner, and we're going to move them along. But what are we doing about the underlying cause of that? And Bob, I feel for you. I feel passionately for you. How can Bob get some food? He's asking Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who's just about to take a 21-week recess. Emily is next on Talkback. Hello, Emily.
Hi.
Hi, Emily.
Hi. I would just like to share that I went to a restaurant for lunch, and that I saw the Rangers there. And they were really nice. They took photos with me. And the London Knights suck.
Emily, my goodness gracious. I mean, I don't disagree. That's quite the language. Did any chance you went to the Chill for lunch today, Emily?
The Daily Grill.
The Daily Grill. That's right. That's what I was thinking. The Daily Grill on Northfield and Davenport. Daily Grill is one of the Rangers' favorite spots. I shouldn't have told you that. Now everybody's going to go there. That's the point. I'm glad they were nice to you, Emily. I'm not surprised. They're pretty good guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the call today. I appreciate it. I love how Emily says the London Knights suck. Don't tell Dale Hunter you said that, Emily. He might get mad at you. He's been mad at me for less. I'll tell you that for free. Good job. I hope you enjoyed your meal at the Daily Grill and seeing the boys while they were there. Well, this is a name I haven't seen in a long time, but I'm sure happy to see it. Rob Deutschman. Uncle Robbie.
Yeah, hey, Mike, I was listening in and had to call in about the crosswalk situation.
Yes.
And straighten things out for you.
Well, that's what you're always here for, so I'm glad because you haven't straightened me out in a while. Okay, what do you want to say?
Yeah. So you're looking at the wrong crosswalk.
Why?
It's the crosswalk that's immediately in front of the car that's making the right-hand turn. So what happens is, and again, this is 30 years of experience in motor vehicle accident claims, what's happening is as the driver is approaching, they're looking left to make a right-hand turn. And what happens is they continue to look left and don't come to a complete stop, and they keep moving, and they don't see sometimes the pedestrian. Now, the pedestrian to their right that's entering the crosswalk in front of them, and that's where the collision happens. And think about this, Mike. People in the left turn lane, people going straight, all wait for the light to go from red to green. So we could say, look, if you're in the right turn lane, you can wait for the light to turn green as well. And in keeping with the theme of an editorial I read in the paper today and lightly glanced over it, it seems like people should stop and smell the roses once in a while.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. We drive too fast. We do look at red lights as kind of rolling stop opportunities for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not the crosswalk on the road that you're turning into. It's the crosswalk immediately in front of you, and they're not. Now, there's also blame sometimes for cyclists who are on the sidewalk and enter an intersection too quickly, okay? And then that you don't see because you might check to your right, check to the left for vehicles and start going and not see a bike that's coming at a pretty fast speed down the sidewalk into the crosswalk.
Sure.
So this is just taking that, making you wait a little while longer. It's a little more safety because, Mike, one accident, it can impact a person's life for life, okay, and all those around them. And this is just making them wait a little while longer with everybody else.
So to that end, Rob, because I don't disagree. Stop, smell the roses. That driver can wait a little while longer like everybody else. But you just used a cyclist as an example that might enter too quickly. Would it not?
Yeah, that happens.
Right.
I'm sharing blame all around.
But right. So if we take that one step further, would it not also be prudent to remind the pedestrian that if they are entering a crosswalk, whether it's got the walk signal up or not, just glance. Just glance, because that second that you take as the walker might also avoid a collision with the oncoming car that's not stopping.
No, of course. But, Mike, you can't always hold the pedestrian responsible. They could be one or two steps in, and that car could be a couple of car lengths back and still come in and catch up to you very quickly and make that turn.
Yeah.
So it's not always that. Of course, everyone has to be cautious when they're out there, but the idea of stopping on the red light prior to making the right turn and wait for the light to change, I think is a good safety measure that the region is considering.
That's fair. Now, and I'm sure in your line of work, you would, like when you get this data that says there have been, 4 pedestrian collisions with right turns, you would ask on what color of signal, wouldn't you? Because I'm not convinced they're all red lights, but I guess we'll see.
Sure, we will ask somebody, say, hey, what color were you? Well, look at it. If it's green and somebody's turning right, then it's the other crosswalk they have to be aware of because
exactly.
Everybody's got it right away.
And that's where I think the problem is.
Well, that's one of the problems, but this one is absolutely a problem. And if everyone's going to look at it, if 2 of the 3 lanes are waiting, the third lane can wait too.
In other words, we should just ban rights on red, period.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it other than just sitting there unnecessarily or what would feel like it would take a while to get used to. But
well,
we're
a society of convenience, right? So
we certainly are.
We love to park in front of the store.
Well said, sir. Thanks for straightening things out.
All right, take care, Mike.
You too, Rob. Nice to hear from you. And what Rob is saying is echoed by this email I got from Bruno, who writes to Mike at 570news.com. Turning right on a red light has always been illegal in the province of Quebec. I have tons of family there. They think we are absolutely nuts to turn on a red. And I get that part of this too. I really do. And yes, I've driven in Quebec. I know the no right on red. I have sat at intersections. How about the off-ramp, okay, of the Highway 8 at Fairway? So you've got Fairview Park Mall on your right, and you're at the end of the off-ramp where there is clearly marked no right turns on the red light. And you are the first vehicle in line, and somebody behind you is laying on the horn. And you're like, there's no right on red, dude. And they're really upset with you. I hold my ground because I'm not scared. I got a thick skin. Beep all you want, you beeper. But I get it. So in some jurisdictions, even the idea of turning right on red is bizarro land. I'm looking at the data. And if this is what we're basing a decision on, I think, A, not a high enough priority. 4, the most dangerous, if we're going by number of collisions between pedestrians and vehicles, is 4 collisions over 5 years. 4 in 5 years. I want everybody to be safe. I don't want anybody hurt, but that doesn't scream to me a high need area of concern. That not to me. And the other thing that we're missing is, while the data does say these are pedestrian collisions with right turns, it does not say what color the traffic signal was. And I'm not convinced they're all reds. I'm just not. I hear what Rob's saying. I think it's a fair point. I think it's a whole hell of a lot harder to hit somebody in front of you than it is in the crosswalk when you were making a right-hand turn. I guess we'll see. Ernie, you're next on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mikey, how's it going?
Great, buddy. How are you?
Good. You're probably you're still taking this all in, I hope.
I really feel like I am. Yes.
You know what? Like, I don't even really have anything to say. I just want to say congratulations and obviously everyone's ecstatic about the huge win and everything like that and what it's done for the community. That's just been fantastic. Was there a moment up there when you were like, I'm getting paid to do this? Like, I know, Mike, obviously I know you're not a millionaire contractor or anything like that, but think about it. Like, think about a moment if someone were to tell you this in 20 years, you could do this. Would you ever imagine that, you know?
It's really all I ever wanted to do, Ernie. I honestly, I pinch myself almost every day that I get paid to do this, much less go to hockey games and describe them.
Well, you know, I am pretty fun to talk to, Mike, so I understand.
Oh, well, tell me about it. I mean, like, if a day without a call from Ernie, that's a bad day indeed.
So, well, I just wanted to say, you know what, hopefully later on, me and you can start bickering about different topics back and forth, but you know what, today is just going to be a happy moment. Congratulations, buddy.
Love it, pal. Thanks very much. Great to hear from you. I'll say this, because, again, I had precisely zero to do with the Rangers' championship success. But I will never get tired of championship hugs. There were a lot of those going around, full on, like, get over here and let me squeeze you, championship hugs. And I loved every one of them. It's a great feeling because it's just the pure joy that's associated with this. Rosina, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Great. How's it going with you?
Oh, not too bad. You sound like you have a little bit of a cold, but maybe it's just from screaming and shouting and cheering and calling the game.
Yeah, I think I'm dealing with a wee sinus thing, but it's nothing too bad.
Nothing serious.
No,
Yeah.
not. It's not going to keep me away. Wild horses nor sinus congestion will keep me away from work.
You're a very loyal employee. I was just listening just a little while ago. There was a gentleman on the phone, and he called himself Bob. And it sounds like he's in really rough shape and he's looking for food. And he doesn't seem to have any transportation or anything like that. So I don't know if it's the same in Cambridge, but in Kitchener. But in Cambridge, we have these community meals. And they run a couple times a week, and they're usually in churches. And they're free. Anyone can go. They cater more for seniors. I mean, we do get some homeless people, but it's all the same crowd that goes to these things. And I think it's mostly seniors and people who have handicaps and that sort of thing. Perhaps in Kitchener they have the same program. We have up to 6 churches that are offering meals. And so you can get a meal almost 2 or 3 times a week at least. Now, getting there, I was thinking, so he needs to get in touch with community services. Are you still there?
I am, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he needs to get in touch with community services because I'm guessing he might be a senior, but I don't know. And they do have like Activan or transit for people who have difficulty getting around. And I know in some municipalities they also provide, I don't know what they call them, chips or you buy a book and it's cheaper cab fare or cheaper bus fare.
Yep.
That sort of thing. But he needs to get in touch with community services. I don't know where the gentleman lives. I can give you the number for Kitchener or Cambridge. Did he mention where he was from?
He didn't, Rosina. But listen, I got to run and take a break. But I appreciate this because you're putting us on the right track here. So thank you for that.
Okay.
All right.
I hope he finds help soon.
I hope so too. That's so caring of you. And you know what, Bob, Rosina's on the right track there. Start with your local counselor, and they'll be able to get you in touch with the community service that could help you. Because it sounded like delivery was key for Bob too. So I'm guessing he's got some mobility challenges of getting out and around, right? So, Bob, get in touch with your local counselor. They'll put you in touch with the person that will help you get some of that food you sound like you so desperately need. This is the Mike Farwell Show. It's Talkback on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I don't know where the time goes, but you sure do make Talkback fun. So let's get right back to the phones. Curtis, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mike. What did you say? 4 accidents in 5 years?
Correct.
Well, there's only one answer to that, and it's called amalgamation. What are we doing with our tax dollars here? Absolute waste. Have a wonderful day.
Right, Curtis, thank you. So a lower level jurisdiction might not deem that as big a concern, I suppose, is what Curtis is getting at here. Too many chefs in the kitchen. Jerry, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mike. I'm just calling about the food problem this gentleman's having.
Yes.
If he calls Chantel at the Cambridge Food Bank, they give free delivery to anybody that's unable to get it. I've had the chance to have to use that at one time, and they'll do it free delivery once a month.
Jerry, that is fantastic. Thank you. Just like Rosina, the caring community of Farwell's Force coming through for Bob, who called earlier, says, I'm a senior, where can I get food? And Meals on Wheels was too expensive, and he's not able to travel to a food bank. So there you go. Jerry says you just call the Cambridge Food Bank, and they do deliveries. So another way to help out Bob, who called earlier and sounded to be in pretty dire straits. Well done, Jerry and Rosina. Thank you. Richard, you're next on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Those Rangers have just brought this whole community together, and we're all so proud of them. And I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but I do want to mention that Christian Kirsch, between the pipes, was absolutely outstanding. And I'm not hearing enough about a guy who only lets in 6 goals. Pardon me.
No, you're right.
Six goals scored on him, because they were good goals.
Fair enough. Yep.
Nothing he could do about them. In 4 games in the premier tournament in this country. Mike, I need you to find a stat. How many shots did he turn away?
I think the number, his save percentage might have been over 960. I'm trying to remember, but he was named the goaltender of the tournament. And you're right, Richard. He's not getting enough. The bigger the game, the brighter the light, the brighter that he shone. Great point.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. So let's not forget about the guy that was our backstop the whole way through this run. Got to be so proud of him, too. Nothing away from anybody else. O'Reilly, Woolley, all of the boys did an excellent job, but we got to remember our netminder.
Richard, well said. Thanks for that.
Thanks.
Great hearing from you. Don't overlook the contribution of Christian Kirsch, who was terrific in goal at, as Richard points out, the premier hockey tournament, junior hockey tournament in this land. Great point. All right, we're winding down. Time goes by way too fast on this show. A reminder, the Farwell for Hire 50/50 raffle is open. You can get tickets at cf5050.ca. If you get those tickets before Friday, you are eligible for a $2,500 cash prize from TLC Pet Food. Straight up cash in your pocket from TLC Pet Food. You'll still be in for the overall jackpot. But if you get your tickets before Friday, you're eligible for the $2,500 early bird prize from TLC Pet Food. And until the jackpot gets to $70,000, I cannot eat a butter tart, and Kyle cannot come back on this show. He's in the penalty box. We've gone up over 1,000 just in this hour. That's pretty good. So the jackpot at $35,775. That means your take-home prize is $17,887. Get it up to a take-home prize of $35,000. I'll eat a butter tart. Kyle's out of the penalty box. Tickets at cf5050.ca. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.